There's loads of those. Which are the ones? Oh, I'm going to kick myself. I can see the game. Oh, hang on, I've got it behind me. Hang on. I have got it behind me.
Road Rage.
Damn it!
Simpsons Hit and Run.
Moved it. No, it's name me a game around about the same time as Halo, but you're kind of trying to solve a mystery at the same time as, and there's lots of different races. No, not Portal.
Lots of different. Oh, Gran Turismo. Lots of different races.
No, not that kind of race, as in like space races. Different type of racing, but well done.
Star Wars.
No
races.
Oh, this is going to drive me absolutely insane. The bad guys are. Oh.
Grand Theft Auto.
Okay.
No.
Star Commander.
No, it's a space game. So it's
Space Invaders.
no.
It's not the cloud. It's not the cloud.
It'll come to me. Oh, I don't believe this.
Welcome to the Graphters Podcast.
Good evening, John.
Good evening, Gary. How are you doing?
I'm very well. How are you, young man?
Yes, I'm good. It's a balmy September evening, cooking away. In
Are
my
we spelling
studio.
that with an L or an R?
Well, in Barnsley, it's got to be an R.
Barmy. Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, actually, shouldn't you be talking with a much more West Country accent, seeing as you're drinking cider?
Let's see.
Don't do it.
Let's see
we'll
where we get to by
we'll
the
get
end of
into
the can.
trouble.
Let's see where we get to by the end of the can.
And I've got a nice brew here. In fact, if only not a sponsor,
No.
it's called the company's called Pure Gold, and it's sustainably. I'll say that again. Sustainably brewed in Warwickshire, which is where my good wife is from. So this is a present from her brother.
Fantastic.
And I have to say, it's lovely. But what I find really odd, and you can't, I don't know whether you can see this. Can you see what that says there at the top?
Purity. New
underneath
lightweight.
it.
New lightweight bottle. There's no.
I know.
That's
A new
never been a
lightweight-
lightweight
it's like-
bottle in its life.
No, it's not a lightweight bottle. It's full of beer. Well, it's less full of beer now.
Yeah.
No, but
Maybe
anyway,
that
so
should be on the bottom, on the inside, when you finished it.
no, because it would then it would say lightweight bottle.
So we've had a good run at this because it was only maybe 4 weeks since we recorded the last one. I'm feeling like we're getting back into the stride of it. So
We're getting into the rhythm again.
I noticed
Yeah,
you
we've
used
got to
the
be slaves to the rhythm, John.
we'll boogie on down.
Yep.
Mustard pot. I can't believe you dropped that in. Unbelievable.
Mustard pot.
Yes, our chunnering mustard pot. I actually said it. And
Well-
then you named the actual podcast of it.
Yes, I did, and it needed to be because it was the best descriptor, and it was. That's chunnering mustard.
Yeah, I think we
pot.
recorded 3 hours.
There's no way.
Didn't we? And you cut it down to what was it, an hour?
I think it was 17. I think by the end of it, I think I'd grown a full beard,
Yeah.
which for me is quite impressive because I can't grow one for love nor money.
No, it was very good.
But here we are. It's now where we are, and at this time of the year, it's now September.
Start of
So
the new
theoretically,
academic year. And
yes.
in my job, I'm
all-
very quiet at the moment because everybody's in academia land is running around like headless chickens trying to enrol students.
Yeah, get them through freshers without them all dying of alcohol poisoning.
Absolutely. Drink responsibly, kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes,
And make
drink
sure someone else
responsibly.
buys for
That
you.
means. Yes, drink irresponsibly. Absolutely.
Fantastic.
So you've had a good last 4 weeks. Work's been pretty good, I hear.
Well, work's been really good, but I took the last 4 weeks a bit of a relaxation, got some R&R in, took a bit of annual leave.
Nice.
So that was nice.
All right.
So, yep.
Yeah.
Although annual leave with, in my wife's ideals is either we're away on holiday in a different country, and if we're not away on holiday in a different country, then I'm doing jobs around the house.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Because I'll say this because I'll say this.
You're going to say this quietly because your wife's in the house.
She is in the house, yes. Basically, when we do do you remember a staycation used to be when you actually did it in your own home,
Yes.
rather than staying actually in Europe?
I thought that was,
in the UK,
wasn't it?
Yes, but they changed the usage of the word staycation, didn't they?
Yes. Yeah. They stole it.
Whenever it used to be, I'm staying at home, I'm locking the doors, I'm disconnecting myself from anything that comes in.
Yes.
Whereas, so whenever we have one of those, it's very much the we need to make sure that all the laundry is done before that week happens, that there's a whole house is organised, that there's no cleaning to do. So we have an entire week where we actually don't do anything that makes us feel like we're at home.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is ironic, because when we're actually on holiday, where we've got a bloody washing machine, she's using it all the sodding time.
Yes, but it's not her laundry washing machine.
But it's still, mind you, it's like, but what is it? It's 2 pairs of shorts and a, mankini. But, apart from that.
Oh,
my personal life.
So yes, it's been a very nice, relaxing break, and I'm ready for the upcoming year as it starts.
Yeah.
And there's quite a few big events coming up. Format is coming up in October. I think it's the 24th, actually. Manchester Animation Festival, that one's coming up as well. So looking forward to
that. Unfortunately, the most recent Motion North has been cancelled.
It was
which is a shame.
That was a shame.
Yeah, it was.
And there are a couple of other events which I'm just quickly diving through my calendar because there's so much going on. We've got Animex at Teesside with Teesside University, which is going to be cool.
We must try and get to that one, actually, John, if we can.
I'm already booked, so I will coordinate with you after. And then I am going out to the Netherlands for Unity Unite in Amsterdam. So that's going to be cool. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing Thomas Brinkley from Unity. So that'll be really cool.
I don't know if anybody just noticed that then, by the way. As you may have noticed, John and I, we're not alone tonight. I mean, we're always alone when it's just the two of us. Tonight we have another guest whose dulcet tones just floated into the conversation there so beautifully. John, would you do me a favour? Could you introduce our guest, please?
I certainly will. It's a great pleasure to introduce Thomas Butters from Facepunch Studios.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello!
Hi, how's it going, guys?
It's so lovely.
Welcome to the Madhouse.
To have you on the podcast.
Yes, I've gathered it's a madhouse.
When you've got two nutters like us, it's not going to be the most sanest establishment. But we do serve very good biscuits, which we'll come to later.
At the end.
Do you like biscuits?
We do.
Yes. Big fans of biscuits.
Fantastic to have another industry representative, Thomas Butters, also big Blender user, so happy days.
Mm-hmm.
Gary is so happy. If you could see his face. He's so happy.
Sorry.
Extremely happy, yeah. Yes, I think I remember when I first found your channel, Thomas. I think I immediately sent a WhatsApp to Gary going, "My God, there's someone in industry and they're using it live." Log in.
Yeah.
And from there we just snowballed. We just dared to say it every time then, didn't we? I think after that, Gary.
So Thomas, could you tell us a little bit about your history, about where you started in terms of doing this, and you can be as brief or as bold as you like. And tell us, when you first started, when you first thought you wanted to do what you were doing, or at least something in that sort of vein, how you got into it, what how at the education side, and also the post-education side as well of relearning, and then getting to where you feel you are today. And
okay,
if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I love talking about this, but so it's a bit different in the sense that I didn't really know what I wanted to do, especially when I started to investigate going into the games industry. So originally I wanted to be a police officer, and it's only until I started the induction day at college going in for uniform services. I looked around me and there's just some people there that I knew and I didn't really want to be around, as harsh as that sounds. And I was just suddenly I was just like, maybe this isn't what I want to do. And I had a real sort of crisis moment there, trying to figure out, because it was not so much about what I wanted to do then. It was more so like trying to, am I going to annoy my dad? My dad was kind of old school. You've got to get a trade in you. You've got to, he's always been a manual labourer pretty much for most of his life, since 16, leaving the house. So I sat when he picked me up from college that day in his van, and he was just like, Tom, I don't really understand. Like, you've always wanted to do this. Like, what is it that you want to do then? And I was like, I kind of like games, And then my dad didn't really understand, but he was supportive anyway, which was really great. And we found some courses in Manchester, near Oldham, Manchester College, I think it was called. Mancat at the time. I'm not sure if it's still called that or not, but I had no art experience. I had no experience in the games industry at all. I had no clue. I knew I just liked story, and I like narrative, and I like character development and cool things in games. I used to play Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9. I'm forgetting all the games that I used to play now, but a bunch of story-driven games growing up, and I just wanted to do something like that. And I got my hands on Maya before college started, and I was like, right, this is what this is how you make games.
Yeah.
The entirety of games in Maya. That's what I thought.
Maybe some of the tutors did as well.
That's the level.
Yes, I think they probably did.
That's the level of immaturity I had then. Like I just didn't know anything about games.
When would this been about? What sort of year would this have been around?
Oh gosh. Well, I was 16 at the time because I was just going into college.
Yeah, so it would have been.
So, oh gosh,
2005, 4.
Something like that, yeah.
So not a lot in the games industry had actually it had not exploded yet. Any college that was running anything that had games related things was pretty
nothing
unique.
really. No.
Yeah, pretty unique.
Yeah. But and then from that, being way too confused at the interface of Maya, I downloaded Google SketchUp and started making skateboard ramps because I used to love skateboarding.
Cool.
And that was it. And I printed screenshots out to impress the tutors at the induction day at Mancat. And the tutor that I had for most of it, Gio Norris, I handed him these printouts in an attempt to gain his favour so I could get on this course, but it was just literally you enrolling, you're on, so it was completely pointless. I think I was just so enthusiastic behind it, but and then I got my hands on 3ds Max, just fell into the 3D modelling. Really, wasn't it my intention. I guess I kind of wanted to be like a story designer originally, but then I sort of realised that I can create some story in the assets that I make. I used to build backstories to everything that I made. You'd see this one image, but I'd have this whole story behind it in my head. That was a course called video game design, I think it was. Yeah. Computer video game design or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I did well. I got good marks in most of that. It was quite a generic course, but I really latched onto the 3D modelling and knew that that's what I wanted to do. And then so after college finishes, I get good grades. I go to Salford University to study video game design. And again, quite a generic course. It's not really art related or specific. I just delved even more into 3D. We didn't really have a great 3D course there. It was okay. Yeah. At one stage, it was doing YouTube tutorials that were printed out on paper, and we were given them.
What?
Yeah, it was an odd one.
Yeah.
I don't think the tutor. I think the tutor was actually a 2D artist and didn't really know what to do to drive us in the right direction. And it was painfully obvious to me that I had a lot more work to do than I anticipated, which was good because it made me self-motivated and self-driven. And I didn't just stop at doing 3D in semester time. I went home when the term ended, and I didn't go out and socialize. I was in my bedroom modeling stuff, improving, studying other people's work, trying to study and understand wireframes and normal maps, the baking process. What am I doing wrong here and there? And all the while, my dad did not understand at all. He was like constantly, "Tom, get a job," which I understand. Like, I get it. And I probably should have done.
Oh no, definitely not.
But now he understands. Now that I actually get a paycheck.
It's interesting you're talking there. I mean, I think certainly my dad was very supportive of what I did. But thinking back to when I was at school, which would have been, I was leaving school probably 1989. I think it would have been 1989. That's going back some time. And I remember having a conversation with one of the, shall we call them, career teachers, which is just one of the tutors that's now got the careers hat on, and it's kind of like, where are you going? Then stop forth. Catholic school, the expectations were you go out in a Yorkshire village and you get a trade, just as you sort of said. And I said, well, I want to do something in art, so I'm pretty good at art. I want to be an artist. He just sort of laughed and went, yeah, you've always been a bit strange. And then sent me off down to sort of try and get into sort of like where the steelworks was.
But the North has become a powerhouse for computing.
Well, yes, I mean,
and technology.
It did sort of, I would say, be the catalyst for driving investment and innovation for change. And the North has become, certainly Teesside is, the corridor at Teesside is absolutely unbelievable, and that was probably down to a lot of good work that the council did with the local university, Teesside University, and created lots of graduates coming out and gave them these incubators and startups to go off and become, what we've now got, Double 11 and Radical Forge, And if you ever meet Bruce, he's such a cool guy, and he has promised to come on the podcast. So I'm just going to drop him in there.
There's so many people making promises are going to come on the podcast.
Yes, but we get them. We do get them.
No, well, I don't know. I think they're all giving us a
run around,
giving us a wide berth. They're waiting for someone of weight to be on the show. But he's here now, so we're okay.
Here's a very strange thing, just to sort of marry up where the trials and tribulations that we faced when we were embarking on our careers into this unknown sector. The games industry now, larger than the film industry.
Well, it earns more than the film industry.
Earns more than the film industry.
More than music,
generates more income.
Generates more
film.
Yeah, absolutely. And
completely.
All
combined. So,
yeah.
It was the right decision. Well done, you. Well done, us. But it was a scary one, and I suppose now the opposite side of it is now that people do know how big the industry is. I wonder if the pressure is like reversed. Kind of like, whereas before it was you need to be a carpenter or a joiner or a brickie or whatever to get a trade. Now it's kind of like, can you not get a job in cybersecurity or making games because you'll make a fortune, son? And the kids are there going, well, I just want to be a joiner, Dad. Actually,
I was hoping to work down a mine. So you finished at Salford and realised that you felt all your career was lacking was any ability and knowledge. You felt that you needed to do more. You did loads more in your own time.
Oh no! So I finished as I was in university in my break times. I would do a lot more work, not really socialize, just really crack on with learning how to do 3D and all aspects of it really. And I really grew to love character artwork, and I really wanted to become a character artist. And my university, Salford, made the mistake of basically promising us jobs.
Yeah.
In the end, or at the very least, making it seem that way. And so I assumed that me getting one of the highest grades in my course meant job security, that I'd walk into a job. And it just wasn't the case, because university is quite a separate thing from the actual industry.
Yeah, yeah.
And at least it was back then.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's improved a lot now. But I was under that self-deception that not only I thought having one of the best grades in the class would mean getting a job, but also that those grades meant that my artwork was awesome. And it just wasn't true at all. I got those grades because I fulfilled criteria for that course, which is very different from actually being very good and being employable. And so I found it very hard, very, very, very hard, within the next year after university, applying at literally every single job that I could find in the games industry. I think I must have applied to almost every. I'm not kidding. Almost every single studio.
Yeah.
And it was just a really, really depressing time for me. And I fell into quite a lot of darkness with that. It led me to have faith in God, in Jesus Christ. And I was in that moment. I said, after giving my life to Christ and realizing that I had more meaning than being just a 3D artist, than just being in the games industry or wanting to be in that I had a greater purpose. That I was like, well, if I'm not meant to be in the games industry, then that's what I'm not supposed to be in. And it's shortly after that I got an email from my boss, my now boss, where it was I just do not remember sending the email to him at all. I've got it. I had to look maybe like 2 years ago. I had to go, did I really send that email? Because I don't remember sending it. Yeah. And I had to look through my emails again to find it. But he was just like, yeah, we love your work, but we don't know how you can fit in. Let's have a chat. And I was like, this is my chance. This is my chance. Before that, though, I did have a couple of interviews. One who make all the Lego games, TT Games, that's it. And I was I was in the final round for that and was unsuccessful. And that was just before I got this job at Facepunch. And there was another interview at Jagex, which actually was 2 interviews. They surprised me with another one. And I was unsuccessful at that. I just completely blanked out in the interviews, had that sort of stage fright, and yeah, I just completely panicked. But when I got that email, I was like, it was kind of I could tell it was quite new, because they were just like, I was just saying, well, I don't just do characters, I can make props and I can do environment stuff. And they were like, great. What do we do from here? I was like, maybe I can do an art test for you. And Gary was like, yeah, that sounds great. Well, you make this torch and you do some environment piece that you want to do. And I did some shed and a ground texture for it. And then he was like, after it was done, he's like, right, let's discuss salary. And I got the job.
Yeah.
And I just like, oh my gosh, I was just so overwhelmed. I'm so thankful. Yeah, that was that whole year. I don't know how long it was exactly, but it was maybe just over a year from finishing university to getting that job.
Yeah.
Where it was just a real deep realization that I wasn't employable. My art wasn't great, and I needed to do something about it. I needed to do something about it, and that pretty much looked like me joining the Polycount forum, which was and is awesome.
Yeah.
And really getting involved in that insofar as, me posting works in progress, having it slated so I can improve myself. Because what you want, like, one of the things with university at times is that you might get some tutors that just are more concerned about their own position than your own progression.
100%. You could not be more right if you tried.
Yeah, and that's not everyone. That's just my own experience in it for a handful of tutors. And so I don't feel like in retrospect I got on it, like they weren't very honest with me about my own artwork.
You're being graded on a curve, don't forget, as well, because your work is graded against the other people on your course.
There you
so
go.
You probably are. You probably were the best person. In fact, you would have been the best person there, obviously. But it is that equation of like, this isn't like a global thing. It's not like everyone's A levels and stuff go into one place and then they go, well, this is everybody. These are the ones who are going to get A's because this is all of them. And these are the ones who are going to get A stars because this is like the absolute first. It's like there were 60 people on this course. There are now 12. Yeah. And this person is best of 12 people. And it
managed to survive.
It isn't right. Yeah. It's not. They're dependent on the money.
They're businesses. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're huge businesses as well.
They're colossal. And the red tape and all the... What's the word I'm looking for?
Bureaucracy.
No, not John. I've got to get rid of that now.
First swear.
You can swear, but I like to bleep them because I don't because I know John and I both know that there are younger people who listen to this, and we don't want them to not hear this.
Yeah.
If anything, we really want them to hear this.
Just on the measurement of your own abilities, I think it's a really important thing, and I think finding yourself as well. When you talk about when you found God and your faith, you found your faith. I think that's a huge thing.
I think in terms of identity, it was incredibly important for me because, as I said, I came to understand that because I had all of my identity in being a 3D artist, and if I wasn't a 3D artist in the games industry, I was nothing. And I know for a fact that is what it is for a lot of people, a lot of students who are very ambitious, and I totally understand it because I was that same person. But when I realised that I was more than that I was born in the image of God, I had greater meaning and purpose, and that it didn't ultimately matter what I did, I could still have peace and I could still have enjoyment. No matter what I did, because I knew Jesus. It really, that burden, that weight that I put on myself was suddenly gone. And even now, it's still there because obviously I'm still a Christian. And what that does for me is this, because the games industry is so competitive, it's very easy to, even now, when you have other people that come into the studio, you might feel like, oh gosh, like, is my position like at risk? There's all these new softwares that I've got to learn. It's kind of overwhelming. These people at this other company, they're doing this and that, and like, we're not doing that, and like, the whole burdensome of it. But I know that I'm not just a 3D artist. That completely alleviates all that pressure from me. And in the grand scheme of things, when everything is done and said, as an artist, when I look at creation, I see God as the great artist, the great architect of the universe, and the deep complexity. And, when I'm making something complex, I'm struggling by the sweat of my brow making something, and then I look at the world around me, my own children, and the infinite complexity. So like it's just, when you look at creation, the amazing artistry, and we see his powerful and divine nature on clear display. Even in Psalms it says the heavens declare his glory, his creation power. It's all around us. And as an artist, I take deep inspiration from the things that he has made. Like for some reason, as a game artist now, like when I look at rocks, like I'm like, whoa, those are good rocks. Those are.
Oh, he made a good one there. Lovely. Look at the lichen on that bad boy. Whoa.
Yeah, exactly. Just like me trying to recreate something that has been created it's such an honor to be able to do that. And that was, in that year break, I had I had a lot of time to really improve myself, like going on Polycount Forum and exposing my faults to the world, so to speak, and having them critique me in a way that my tutors wouldn't. And then it was a real eye-opener then. But that opened me up to artists that I really admired and, were far beyond me at the time. And I actually, this was before Twitch, I think it was, but I used to watch them in Google, like private Google Meets, doing character work and just ask them questions. It was basically Twitch, really. And it was just such a great, honestly, even though it was a very dark time for me, it was such a beautiful time because it was so intimate and so real and raw. A real time of growth. And then what I didn't mention, I always get the timeline mixed up here, but I actually got in contact with a guy called Kostas Serafis, who works for Lionhead Studios, lead animator. I joined his team on a Kickstarter to make a Kinect game called Kung Fu Superstar. And that was really interesting. He was really impressed with me, actually. He gave me a really good recommendation on my LinkedIn. And and that was, I felt, maybe was a big contributing factor, is having some sort of real project. Even though it failed, I still contributed to something. It failed in getting all the money for the Kickstarter. But and then I got the job at Facepunch, and the rest is history, really. It's such an amazing journey since then.
And what a history it is, yeah.
So when did you start at Facepunch?
That was in March 2013.
Yeah, for Gary's sake, Facepunch is, the creator of Rust, which is a...
Sorry, what is this Rust of which you speak?
So it's probably one of the most toxic games you will ever play as a single player. But the principle of Rust, for me, is the most pure thing ever. When you buy Rust, you buy the game on Steam, you download it. The first time you load in, it will determine your sex, gender, and ethnicity.
Yep.
And you can't change it.
That's it. You're done.
That's it. You're done. But
okay, fine. I'm assuming there's a reason for this.
I think there was. Well, there is, isn't there? Yeah, Gary did it.
Yeah. Well, essentially, there are things in real life that you can't control, like gender, like the color of your skin, even down to, I think, penis length is randomized.
So now we need to be a little bit more specific on what happens. You are born naked on a beach with a rock and a torch.
No,
that's it.
I do have a small level of awareness of the game, small level, but I have to. But it's I would like to play it at some point.
Yeah, there's some things that you are supposed to reflect real life in that sense. And we get a lot of people who saying like, I'm a black man, why am I a white woman? Like, we've had plenty of those.
I'm a black female woman in Rust, by the way. It's fantastic. It's the most liberating thing.
I'm also a female in Rust, yeah. But it's just one of those things that, I mean, we didn't think it was a controversial thing, honestly. But some people consider it controversial.
But then people will find controversy in anything, Thomas, to be fair. But, sorry, you are the creator of the most sought after item on the game, the AK-47, which is a beautiful model, which is obviously
not.
The remade version wasn't it?
The remade, maybe, yeah. But when it's one of those things, because working on a project for 10 years, you look back at your artwork and you realise what did I do there? Like that, it's Rust is a progression of my artwork, essentially.
It's kind of your catalogue, isn't it?
Professional artwork.
In a metaverse. You've got a metaverse of an art catalogue.
Yeah, essentially. All my portfolio work is, apart from maybe 2 or 3 personal pieces, is just purely Rust.
But didn't you do some Gary's mod stuff as well?
Yes,
when you first started.
Gary's mod stuff.
Yeah,
that's right. So originally I didn't work on Rust. I worked on Gary's mod.
Yeah,
and
always liked the name for that.
Yeah, it was. I'm working on its spiritual successor at the moment, Sandbox, making the tool gun. Actually,
the new tool gun, the main thing that you have.
The new tool gun, where you weld things together.
It was when I left teaching and when I left education a couple of years back and joined Escape, I started to get asked to go to speak to college students and university students, and mostly because they looked at my LinkedIn and went, "Well, you've worked in the games industry." It's like, I forgot about that. It's kind of like your brain gets taken out and put into it. And
I worked for Seymour Games.
Yeah, I worked for Seymour. Yeah.
It's like me. I worked in it for about 9 years.
It's weird. You go through these periods of your life, and when I reflected back on some of the artwork that I did Nico's apartment for Revolution, which was Broken Sword 3.
Oh, nice.
And a lot of people don't like the 3D version. But one of the things I realised recently at Games Toast up in Leeds, when talking to Jamie, that I've just introduced to Gary, was that it was the most visited scene of the game because you always went back to the apartment. And that was the sort of the almost the loading screen type of thing. So, but at the time, I never realised that. I just sort of cracked on and got on and modelled it and sort of did what you do in a much lower version. I mean, I had a texture palette of 512 by 512 pixels.
Those were the days.
And that was for the entire scene, Tom. that was everything in there.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's almost 16 bits, surely.
It was a 16-bit, yeah. We did do a 16-bit palette,
16 bits, you're fine. Do everything. You don't need any more than 16.
Yeah, try that on the Catacombs. That was like...
You can do a Catacomb with 8, I can promise you.
Anyway, let's not get bogged down.
8-bit Catacombs. Don't you remember Nodes of Yesod?
Oh, God.
That's a game. That's a game from about 1 million years ago.
Did we show it?
I've never heard of that.
We're going too far
Nodes
back in
of
the
Yesod. Yesod. Have a look. It's a Spectrum game.
But one of the things, I'm gonna try and drag this back into some semblance of progression.
You can forget that. Listen, the railway track has gone too far to the left or too far to the right.
Well, railways.
We've done politics and religion. I mean, come on.
Railways are very much a thing within Rust. But one of the things that I love about what you do now, Thomas. Certainly, when I discovered you on.
Here comes the fanboy bit, everybody.
I'm trying to be serious. I introduced a lot of my students to your work through ArtStation. So your ArtStation is a great example of how to put your best stuff up there for the world to see. So I would often point people at, certainly students at college level, and when you talk about your experience in college and about and maybe onto university where you're getting measured against the rest of the class and told how good you are. I used to use ArtStation, especially the splash screen of ArtStation, as a sort of a temperance of, no, this is the best. If you get up on that splash screen, then you know you've made it. So it's a great place, to get up there. And obviously, since Epic's taken over ArtStation, I think the likelihood is it will stay free as a platform certainly for the foreseeable future. I know there are paid elements to everything, but
oh yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
I hope so.
That's really cool. So certainly, if anybody does want to see Thomas's work, check him out on ArtStation because it's there. And also, you did have a YouTube channel, but I think a lot of that sort of went away. Did it after the
No,
Twitch
it's
gate?
still going. I after I actually uploaded more to YouTube after I had to step away from Twitch, because that format just allowed me to do that whenever I could. But having 3 young kids, it was quite difficult to carry on with Twitch. So I had to stop that. Because I had, during the whole Twitch period, I actually had 2 children. Very difficult to keep up with Twitch, and I felt like I was letting a lot of people down with that. Because I would come on and then I'd be really hyped for it, and then I'd be like, oh, I just have no energy.
I couldn't get over how
energy.
you could do a full day's work and then do a 4-hour stream. It was pretty good to watch. I mean, it was, Ducky 3D
I think,
was doing
yeah.
similar things at the same time, and it was kind of like he was doing more of a Blender exploration of what can I do in Blender type of thing. But you really were.
Yeah, he's quite a generalist.
Yeah. But I've noticed Markham 3D is doing a similar thing, isn't he? He when he starts live streaming on YouTube now, it's kind of like, settle in, guys, you're in for it now.
Yeah, well, but I think a lot of them are like Grant Abbott's site,
Yeah.
I mean, he's, most of his is modelling, really. And, he's the same thing. He just sits there and just does it and doesn't stop and keeps on going. But I think it's the nature of modelling because, and particularly if you've got other people, I mean, Tom, please put me straight here. But the impression I get is that when you're sitting there and you're just doing it, and then people are throwing questions at you, something that you could probably have done in 2 hours suddenly takes 4.
It can do. It depends on the question and how deep I want to go with it. Because as John would know from being in those Twitch streams, there was a lot of repeat questions.
Frustrated the hell out of me. It's kind of I mean, I think when you got a couple of moderators in, it got a lot better, and it certainly. But I think then you were starting to see that Twitch streaming is a business rather than a pleasure.
It's a business,
absolutely.
yeah. And I did earn some money from that, which was nice. And every now and then, it's tailing off a lot now, but every now and then, I think a couple of months ago, I got like £50 from them, or £100 or something in the in the mail from them. But yeah,
I'm
it
still
was
subscribed, I think.
that. Oh, dude, please don't.
I need to tidy up my finances. Really, I'm just thinking now, going. Pretty sure I'm still subscribed to you. I'm very big on Patreon as well. As in, if there's people doing things on Patreon, I'll donate to get the next thing that other people can't get. I think it's.
Well, there you go, Thomas. That's the next thing.
Patreon, okay.
Patreon. We've just started a Discord server, which we're kind of sort of like working on at the minute, trying to
my days,
work out the
chaos,
general semantics of getting it to work properly and everything. And it's like it's like someone said to me, you should have a Patreon account for your YouTube channel, and I just thought, God, no, I'm coping just about with everything that I'm currently doing. Having to fight with, then I've got to make extra content for Patreon.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
no. It's like there's just it's a life. I've got no time to do anything, let alone what I'm doing as it is.
Yeah.
I mean, what I would say is that for some people, your stuff for me was fascinating. The Twitch streams that you did, because, I mean, the first time I stumbled across you actually making things that were game assets, it was kind of like peering into the place you shouldn't go. It's like where's the NDA on that? I was like, what?
Apart, of course, like there's a lot of. I get why studios have NDAs and they don't want to spoil it, but at the same time, I don't get it. I don't get the lack of transparency with art creation on that side of things. And I mean, sometimes some studios can be really restrictive. Like we've had a couple of people come from Dan Buster Studios, and the people who did Dead Island 2, and when they've asked for renders of their artwork, well, first of all, they've had to ask for renders of their artwork that's in the game, and they've just been provided with renders with the trademark of the game on it and everything. Wow. And it's just like, well, what if I wanted to show off the wireframe and the UVs, or explain things in a little bit more depth? I found that a lot of people really benefited from seeing the behind the scenes of how an asset is made, and that's why with YouTube at times I actually record a time lapse of an entire process of the asset being made, because it gives an insight to the average Joe. I mean, I'm an average Joe, but
I don't think either of us actually believe that.
To be fair, I don't think the three of us are average Joes. We've got published work, so we're not average Joes.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah, I suppose
everyone's an animator these days.
Yeah, where's your AAA?
Just get a mobile phone and a picture of your nan, and you can get them to speak like Elon Musk.
Yeah, the AI. So, I noticed you've got no AI images on your.
I am looking at a great big AI right now on the side of my screen, covered with a great big red circle with a big red line through it saying "No to AI generated images." Actually, on your ArtStation page. And that is something I would like to talk to you about, if I may. Because I am 100% with you and 10% not with you, which doesn't make any sense because it's 110%. But I have been, John knows this very well. I've until recently I've been, and I mean literally has been very recently, I have been utterly against anything to do with AI. I don't feel that it's fair. I think it pulls artwork from other people. That doesn't give them any credit for it. There are people putting stuff on Adobe stock, and I'm sure half of that's being funneled into Runway, isn't it? Runway, yeah. And I'm concerned about the generative fills that are inside Photoshop. I just worry that there's a lot of stuff that's going on there that people have no control over, and it's not fair.
Yeah.
And then just recently, I just wanted some reference, and I thought I could search for this reference, and I just wanted it just for reference. I wasn't going to use it as artwork. It's just there to give me some ideas. And John knows this because I was doing this with John at the time. And I just thought, you know what? Actually, I can see a use for some of this. And then I did some stuff on one of my tutorials where I tried to do very quickly with the geometry nodes, something that Matthew Borrett takes an absolute fortune of time to do in one of his beautiful pieces of artwork. And I did a little bit of stuff with the image that I created afterwards. And I was like, I could never put this out, but it's made me think about something else that I can do. So if it's only for that, then I'm happy.
There are use cases for it, and there definitely will be. But the biggest thing that I don't see them ever getting around is the fact of copyright.
Yes.
Because, I mean, it's already failed numerous times, not even in the gaming world, but in like the publishing world. There's a man who created a children's book, I think it was, using AI, and he tried to get it copyrighted, and he couldn't.
No,
it was impossible. And the reason for that is because it technically cannot be copyrighted and protected in the EU and in the US because it isn't created by a human. It fails the EU's originality test, and in the US, it fails the non-human. I guess it does it fall in or fail the non-human expression? Isn't ineligible for copyright protection.
Yeah.
And there's an example of it by something called A Recent Entrance to Paradise. So, like for example, if I use this example all the time because it's quite an iconic character, but if Microsoft, for example, 343 Studio at the time created the concept for Master Chief using AI,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be able to copyright that Master
No.
Chief.
Yeah.
They wouldn't own the rights to it. So anybody could use that image in anything that they wanted. Same for Coca-Cola, same for Disney with Mickey Mouse, all of that. I don't see how they can get around that at this point in time. I mean, there's another example where a human set up a digital camera, I think in front of a sunset or whatever, and a monkey pressed the button to take the photo, and that photo cannot be copyrighted because it's taken by a monkey and not a human.
Is that mad? Or is that just me?
That's just I think that's what's called litigation, Gary. And
It's ridiculous.
it's what's been written is what is what
Litigation. That's what I say.
There's a beep for you guys. And another one.
Yeah, no, it's there is insanity there, but that's fair. I understand the equation.
I think it's because it's intention, and there's beauty in the eye of the beholder. That a person has seen this as something beautiful, this sunset, and they've taken the photo. Whereas a monkey, you dunk. There's no thought behind it. And it's the same for AI. There's no real original thought behind generating an idea, an original idea. And you can make the argument, well, don't we pull things from all over the place? Yeah, it does, but it's come from a human mind.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I'm pretty. We've talked about this. I'm pretty chilled about the AI thing.
We talk about this every episode,
and all the bits in between as well that you don't get to. We do procrastinate on this quite heavily, but I'm quite.
No, we don't.
I've been quite chilled about. I mean, I think I'm chilled about it because I've always been in this technology from the technology side of things, and I've seen many iterations of advancements that have had the perceived threat of removing people from the pipeline, from the jobs, and in every case I can remember, it's been exact opposite, and there's been great growth that's come from that. I think we are in a period of time where the growth of the actual industry, and we spoke about this before we went on air, Thomas, that it's so big, that the industry is so big, and it needs content, and content is fed to you now, not through not necessarily through an 86-inch, OLED TV, but it's probably going to come to you through your mobile device or possibly your computer somewhere in that sense. And therefore, that content,
portable technology.
There's got to be some gap filler done, because there just isn't enough people. As going back to education again, there's not enough people that are fitting into the pipeline to create the content. So content needs help.
But this is the reason why we end up with Love Island.
I don't believe there is any AI involved in Love Island.
Oh, I don't know.
Unless they're using,
or maybe not Love.
Unless they're
maybe
using
not
a
AI,
Mac.
but this, unless. And to all the Mac users in the room, just so you know, other computers are available. Thank you.
Dear me. Dear me. No.
There is. I think that when it comes to content, there's so much of it churned out. To be honest with you, but I do know what you're saying. It's cool, but it's about quality content. I think is what it is.
So now I've unearthed the pipeline and the education pipeline, Thomas, and obviously reflecting back on your experience, for anyone out there who's a course leader or an art tutor, or even a student wanting to get into get ahead in the industry, where does your advice sit in sort of like what's definitely needed to be there from your perspective?
Yeah, well, I think to start with, to universities, I guess, just cut all the BS, all the rubbish out, all the out-of-date stuff. It needs to go. For example, when we had an artist, a junior artist, join, and I was mentoring him, he was doing a piece of artwork, and I was reviewing it, and I was like, you've painted the shadows in. Like, why have you done that? And I told him to redo the entire asset, texturing-wise, and I think baking-wise as well. Because I told him to model those in.
Did it break him?
Well, not quite. It was just more so that what he said is that that's what he was taught at university, and I just sort of face palmed.
I know, but, and we all do. But I think this is a really important message, though, that we shouldn't make light of. That Thomas has nailed it. It's how do you throw out the old, and the comfort. The comfort.
Okay, I just thought of something that I think is actually really pivotal, because at my own university this did happen, and I think it's possibly the worst thing a university can do. Do not employ the students that have just graduated from your own course.
100%.
Didn't you do that at Doncaster with someone?
We did have those experiences where we brought people in, and it's very, very difficult. The reason it happens, Thomas, is there aren't enough people out there that can actually deliver to the numbers of people on the courses, but unfortunately, it's the business aspect that I think that then drives the actual conversation, which is, well, we've got this many learners, this is how many we need, so this is how many tutors, this is how many hours, and so on and so on and so on. But it's absolutely right, and I 100% agree. What I would say is, and this is something that I've been very much part of the last 2 years of my life, has been what I've been developing with a real thought on that, is how do we take those learners who have decided that they want to give back, and we actually educate them with experience of work, with proper staff development that comes from an industry rather than from how to be a teacher. Yeah, academia, how to be a teacher, how to fill in a form, how to fill in a register.
I think it's about turning that degree from an academic degree into more like an internship. I mean, it's almost like, let's go back to the poly system for certain courses. So they're not in your university. It'll still be a qualification, still be some sort of level
HNDs
of
and the
degree.
HNCs are very good, very useful things.
Exactly, and then the BTECs as well, and all this higher education. I mean, when I first went to Bournemouth, I didn't go there to do media production. I went there to do an HND in catering. So I was going to be, I wanted to be a chef. And then I joined the Drama Society and discovered that everybody there basically in the Drama Society was doing media. So I ended up doing 2 first years, which is why I was there for 4 years.
I can imagine you in the rough with the I can see that now. This is terrible.
But the hats aren't that big. It's all
the one I'm
rubbish.
getting you will be Christmas.
Shush.
I think the reason why I say don't hire from the students that just graduate is because, like I told my nephew, who is in university now studying game design,
Right.
because he wants to do what I do. He grew up watching me do it.
That's lovely, that is.
Yeah, it's really awesome, actually. He goes to Hull University, I think it is.
University of Hull, yeah.
Yeah, and when you're searching for a university, make sure that the lecturers have real industry experience, because what there was a clear difference between the tutors that didn't have industry experience and the lecturer like Zuby, for example, who did have industry experience. There was a clear difference in not only the appropriate knowledge that he was imparting, but the quality of that knowledge that he was imparting as well to us. For art, it couldn't be any more true. Because you need someone who not only is up to date with the current methods of making artwork in terms of like, oh yeah, I can use Substance Paint, yeah, I do this and that, whatever, but actually understands it, can apply it to anything that they do.
Yeah, can solve a problem in the software.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who understands the software, and so like that's what they need to be getting in the universities, is people with real industry experience. It is really vital, because otherwise the the quality of the students that will be processed through the time at university will, in my opinion, will just deteriorate over time. But fortunately, from what you were saying earlier, is that you do believe that it is getting better.
We've had two or three very positive experiences for graduate shows, which we've done podcast. We did, I think, the last podcast we extolled the virtues of that, and I think that's there for historical reference now.
Apart from have real industry people being the lecturers, also get industry people to come in and do talks and show examples. I think that's really important as well. As a 3D artist who mentors a junior and looks after, I'm a lead, so I look after various artists and give feedback to them quite frequently to improve their artwork, and I've seen some really great progress actually in their own work. Teach the fundamentals, and the good thing about teaching the fundamentals of 3D art, you can do it for free in Blender. You don't have to shell out for 3ds Max and Maya, but at the same time,
Have we mentioned Blender yet?
not as often as I thought you would have.
I'm being very quiet at the moment. I am using just Blender for a job, and I have never been happier. I'm finding things, and it's like anything, because I'm doing stuff for AR, and so I'm having to be quite minimal in the things that I can do. Like animating visibility in Blender can be a bit of a pain in the backside, and it doesn't necessarily carry across into, because there's so many different systems for actually displaying AR.
Well, here's a question for you, Thomas, just quickly. Yeah, USD pipeline. Have you started to engage with that yet yourself?
Not a single bit.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit.
Is yours just literally chuck it out on OBJ?
FBX for Unity.
Fair enough.
Yeah. With Sandbox, it's Source 2 engine, which is pretty unique for a studio to have access to that. We have a very good relationship with Valve, actually. But, nothing to do with USD at the moment.
So there will be some changes, I think, with Substance, because Material X is certainly getting a revisit and a rebrand, and that is going to be through. There will be obviously a very big, heavy influence on USD. I think what you probably will see, Thomas, is that USD will become the export instead of FBX at some point. Blender at the moment is just push-pull, but other packages like certainly Maya Max, Houdini, Substance, they're all now becoming bidirectional, so that the object is the object, and you actually it's an omniverse section. But it's something that I think what you'll find, Thomas, if you're still in the game at the in the next 5 years, which you should be, you're young enough, there will be some changes to the way that certain workflows happen.
No doubt. Yeah.
That will speed up things. The iteration process will be sped up just by the fact that your junior artists and your mid-level artists will be able to have contributions directly in front of the lead artist in real time, without the need for check in, and version control and everything else. And this is the way that we see it starting to evolve into the bigger studios' pipelines of what's going to be down the line. But this is where USD is. It's kind of like the assets that are linked to the scene when they're updated. They update. I think that's what it'll be.
Yeah. In real time.
So moving us into the final chapter, and I am doing because it's getting late. We do a quick fire round, Thomas, and we ask some questions.
They're a bit boring.
They are a bit boring.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, I don't know how we're going to ask that one, but anyway. So, favourite movie. What was your inspirational favourite movie?
War of the Worlds.
Ooh, fantastic.
Which one?
The Tom Cruise one.
I don't like that one. I really don't.
I think the way he expressed his panic in the aliens coming about was just just perfect. It was so good. I watched that in the cinema with my dad and my sister. My sister was clutching onto my left arm.
I can believe
like
it.
scared, and I was just like everything just disappeared, and the movie was just there. The like the horns like blowing out. Yeah, it's just awesome. Yeah, I love that film.
The ululation of sound.
Fantastic. It is quick fire, so we'll move forward. Favorite game?
Either Last of Us 1 or 2.
Oh,
But at the moment, Death Stranding.
okay.
What, sorry?
Death Stranding, phenomenal game.
I got quite into Don't Die Alone, which was a 2D game off of Steam, but it was like 2D 3D game.
Okay.
But it took me back to sort of like the goblins and the Dungeons and Dragons type of era. But the brilliant thing about it was you kind of only got one life, so you had to Don't Starve Alone. I think it's called Don't Starve Alone. That's the one. Yeah,
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, that. Oh no, I remember seeing that. Yes, that's quite good.
It's just crazy bonkers when it starts to really, the fire gets lower and lower. It's kind of Indy, the fires are going out.
Snakes. Why is it always?
Yeah, like, why is there always snakes?
Oh.
Yeah.
I think the reason why I like Death Stranding is it's quite philosophical. It's about delivering parcels, basically, but it's really about connecting people to one another, and it's a very deep, meaningful game, and I think it's great. Really, really good game.
I will have a hunt for it.
Can I ask the next one?
Of course you can. It wouldn't be fair if I didn't.
Normally this would have one of these would be very specific, but I'm changing it. So in terms of 3D software, Maya or 3ds Max? Sorry, because normally it'd be Maya or Blender, and I'm not giving you that question.
Yeah, because it's obvious.
Of course it is.
I'd probably go for Maya because I've been with 3ds Max for so long already, and it might just I'd probably get a lot less complaints from the animators as well.
If you used Maya.
If I use Maya. Yeah.
All right, quick diversion then, very quickly from this question. Why would you get bothered by the animators based on the fact that you're creating assets that don't mostly move?
Well, they have to rig them, and some parts move and everything like that. And if there's if something needs adjusting, then I've got to go edit the source file and then export it out. Whereas if I'm modeling in Maya, then there's a lot less fiddling in that whole process. Fortunately, I'm not a character artist at the moment, so it doesn't make that much of a difference.
No. I just wonder if maybe what you should do is just, make it in Blender as all good people, as God intended, may I say, that we all model in Blender, and then very quickly chucking it out into Maya so you can do the splitting up and repositioning all the origins, and then pass it over.
I mean, Alex does a pretty good job. The lead animator he does a very good job indeed of it. But yeah, I'd probably try and go with Maya, even though I hate the UVing in Maya.
Do you know what? So do I. There's a couple of things in there that I wish that were in Blender.
You see, I've got quite a few. I've got quite a few add-ons, and I think Thomas, you put me onto one add-on, the one that I bought, and it just opened the door to actually. Great having Blender is free, but when you really want something that just works, buy the add-on that works, because it just saves you so much time. And
I turn on Magic UV, and I keep on. I kind of leave it with that.
I think I'm using Packmaster at the moment for my UV.
UV Packmaster is an absolute must.
Yeah, it's just wicked. Yeah. It's just like it's kind of what Maya should do.
It's actually what most of them should do. Yeah, no, I've seen that. I keep on looking at it and thinking, like, should I?
Yeah, but I did get.
Should I?
That's where AI would come in to the whole
completely.
100%.
That would be. I mean, yeah.
AI sorting through packing. Yeah.
There is not an artist alive, a 3D artist alive, that can honestly, hand on heart, say, "I love UV mapping. What are you talking about? Don't take that away from me."
Can I just say, I actually do love UV mapping.
Yeah, I just realised that you do say that a lot on your video.
I do, yeah. on Twitter, I've had people call me a liar because I said that. I genuinely really do enjoy the process of UVing. I find it very, very satisfying.
Well, with that in mind, when you are let's call it full throttle UV mapping, you're in the Zen moment, Thomas Butters. What's your working music, soundtrack or song?
Well, I'll either be listening, because I don't really listen to music that has a lot of words, for various reasons, but I tend to listen to more cinematic music, like instrumental music.
Yeah.
Either that, it's a podcast, or it's a sermon, or or something like that. Yeah.
I was going to say, because I think most of the people that we speak to, including ourselves, listen mostly to soundtracks. Some people listen to music with words, but most people listen to stuff which is... I mean, I'm a big fan of Lo-Fi Girl on YouTube, and there's a lot of Blade Runner sort of like style, Vangelis-esque kind of, sort of like 2 hours worth of stuff, and I love those. But recently, I've managed to get around to finally watching Mindhunter on Netflix.
That's so weird. I've been watching that. I've literally just started watching that as well.
It really does affect it. I found it affected me quite a bit. I really enjoyed it, but the music, oh my! And the soundtracks are on Spotify for the first and second series, and that was it. And it's ideal because it has that sort of separating you from everything around you, which sometimes music doesn't really get rid of everything, but the way the music bends and the tonality of it is just slightly weird.
Interstellar does that. The Interstellar soundtrack does that.
Interstellar,
for me.
The film, does that for me. God, that is just crazy.
The Oblivion soundtrack.
I love that.
Yeah, another Tom Cruise film. The music in that's phenomenal.
I've got to say that the Rush soundtrack, and this is going to sound really bad, Thomas, but the Rush soundtrack is pretty good. But then quite a few games themselves, like Halo, have some amazing scores, and you can just sit and just drift off.
Yeah.
While you're working.
Absolutely, yeah.
So moving on, getting to the last questions. Industry or education has been the educators for the pipeline?
Industry.
Yeah.
Always will be.
100%. Yeah, completely agree.
Gary, we're at the last question.
This is very important.
Okay.
Don't mess it up, John.
Am I
Our
asking
body is ready.
Yeah.
Custard cream or bourbon biscuit?
Can I be awkward here and say it depends on what I'm drinking?
Let me guess.
Cup of tea.
If you're drinking tea, it's a custard cream. If you're drinking coffee, it's a bourbon biscuit.
It's a bourbon biscuit.
No, the other way around.
Oh, wow.
Psycho.
No logic to that at all. You can't call the guest.
Sorry. No, I didn't. I called him my crow, which is Silver down my way. It means you are my buddy and my chum, and anything you say is perfect. And I'm going to go away now. Bye.
I am honoured.
No, so let's say if you were having a cup of tea, it would be a bourbon biscuit then.
Yes, obviously. Yes.
You see, he classes that as a win now, so that's not fair. All right, yeah, okay, fair enough. So your answer is bourbon. It's gonna yes. Right.
Because you drink more tea, obviously.
Do you drink more tea or more coffee? We just need to clarify.
Coffee, yeah.
Oh,
well, in that case, John,
so,
I'm sorry.
There is some logic. There is some logic to it, though.
Go on, because I really can't find any.
With a tea, it's quite weak tasting. So you have a bourbon which is quite chocolatey, and so it complements the tea quite nicely. Whereas with the custard cream, that's quite weak tasting, but the coffee's quite strong tasting.
So what we're saying now, let's get to the crux of this. The bourbon is the strong biscuit. And custard cream is the weak one.
Well, let's
You've heard
it is in the name. It's a cream, isn't it?
It's a cream, yeah. Whereas bourbon is a biscuit.
Sounds classier.
It's all now fundamental to me anyway, because I can't have any either, because now I'm gluten intolerant. I can't have them.
So I've got to find a way to make him a gluten custard cream, of course.
Free bourbon biscuit.
Good luck with that.
I know.
Yeah, Shah do some. There's a manufacturer called Shah that do some, but it's just not the same. It's just not the same. Nothing.
No, it's like taking gluten out of your diet. It's like chopping off an arm. I'm sorry. I appreciate why you've got to do it, but anyway.
Thomas, it has been an absolute pleasure to speak to you again, but certainly to have a podcast with us. Fantastic, and I hope it wasn't too
frustrating.
I hope it was very frustrating. With Gary and I.
Not at all. No, it's been great. Honestly, I love talking about the games industry.
That's it, isn't it? Is there a game that you said The Last of Us 1 or The Last of Us 2? That was favourite game, wasn't it?
Death Stranding, I would say at the moment.
Right,
but in terms of, it's very hard. It's those three are my top three. It's very hard to find which one that is my top.
I'm going to ask the question because Stig and Sodger, who I play with, asked me to ask the question. Do you still play Rust? Because I know you did do a few Twitch Rust playthroughs.
Not as much as I used to. But we are actually making mandatory play tests in Facepunch, so I'll be playing it a lot more.
Cool. Good. If you ever want to have a duo, do let me know.
Will do.
I'm a farmer, so I'm a bit rich. And
yeah.
And one of the things I would say is I have to give a shout out while we've got you on is. When we were talking about people to listen to, and you were talking about podcasts and YouTube videos and things like that, I don't know where I would have got, how I would have got through certainly the pandemic and certainly other things without William and his ever-growing community, because there's a narrator, and I know he plays Rust the game, but he is a content creator that is just amazing to watch in the way that he tells a story and finds the best out of things and makes the game look so good to play, even when people aren't really nice. So, I'm going to shout out to William. And he's got 1 million and odd followers.
I'm sure he'd appreciate that.
And that is the end of this week's fanboy section.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys inviting me on, talking about things. I really do appreciate that.
I'll be honest with you. I'm totally gassed that you came on. It's been delightful. It really has.
Yes. So, thank you, Thomas, for coming along. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on our podcast and to give us a little bit more information about who you are and about your story of how you got to where you are.
It's an honour to be on the podcast and to be invited to talk about those things. It's been really great to talk to you both.
Thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. It's been great. So thank you for coming. And also thank anybody who's actually listening to this. We do like to know that you're out there. Please, you can contact us in lots of different ways. You can go to our website. You can go to our LinkedIn page if you are more of the industry side or more of the educational side. We're there. And also, we're just starting up a Discord server, and that will probably go out and be a bit more obvious to people quite soon. So you can have a little bit of a chatty time. You can hopefully would like to get some of the people we've had as on as guests to actually maybe do like a little Q&As as well. We're going to try and organise it so it's a bit more of a broader thing for lots of different people, and also we can get more ideas from people. And if you have an idea of anyone who you'd like to be on the show, or indeed if you are out there and you are working in or trying to get into the industries that we talk about, let us know. Yeah. Tell us.
Yeah, Gary and I would really love to hear about certainly the aspiring students that are out there, or the people in the pipeline, stuck in the pipeline, and they just want to get on the show and tell us about what it is and see if we can help in any way, and certainly get yourself known. And on that note then, so good night from me, Gary.
And it's a good night from me. And thank you, Tom, once more. Thank you again. Bye.
Thank you and good night. Bye-bye.
This work is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 4.0 International License. Any opinions stated during the course of this podcast belong purely to myself and to John and are based at the time that we record this. The theme music is My Everything by DJ Quads. If you like that, and I'm sure you probably did, there is a lot more of his great stuff which you can find at soundcloud.com/DJ Quads, or his music is also promoted by www.free-stock-music.com.